Sunday dinner at my son Michael's house had become a monthly ritual I'd started to dread. But I kept going because I wanted to see my grandson Tyler, and because I kept hoping things would get better between us. They didn't. "Mom, could you please not do that?" Michael said, as I helped Tyler with his homework at the dining table. "Not help him with math. Not interfere. Jessica has a system for Tyler's homework. You're confusing him." I looked at my daughter-in-law, Jessica, who was scrolling through her phone at the other end of the table. She didn't look up. "I was just explaining fractions," I said quietly. "He asked for help. And I appreciate that. But we're trying to teach Tyler to be independent, not to rely on—" Michael trailed off, but the meaning was clear. "Not to rely on you." I've been hearing variations of this for 2 years, ever since Michael married Jessica and moved into this house in the suburbs. Suddenly, everything I did was wrong. The way I dressed was embarrassing. The car I drove was an eyesore in their driveway. The gifts I brought were too modest or not appropriate. "Maybe I should go," I said, starting to gather my things. "Actually, Mom, we need to talk about something." Michael exchanged glances with Jessica, who finally looked up from her phone. "Jessica and I have been discussing it, and we think it's time for some boundaries." "What kind of boundaries?" "We think the monthly dinner should stop. They're becoming stressful for everyone." I felt like I had been slapped. "Tyler, honey, why don't you go play in your room for a bit?" "But Grandma, I want you to help." "Now, Tyler," Jessica snapped. My grandson left reluctantly, looking back at me with confused eyes. Once he was gone, I turned to Michael. "You're uninviting me from family dinners." "It's not uninviting. It's just we need space. You're always here, always giving advice we didn't ask for, always making Jessica feel inadequate." "I've never made Jessica feel inadequate." "You don't have to say it," Jessica spoke up, her voice sharp. "It's in everything you do. The way you look at this house like it's not good enough. The way you dress like you're better than us because you don't care about appearances. I dress practically. I've never claimed to be better than anyone. You drive that ancient car and live in that tiny apartment and act like you're making some noble statement about materialism," Jessica continued. "Meanwhile, Michael and I are working hard to build something real to give Tyler the life he deserves. And you just judge." "I've never judged you." "You don't have to say it," Michael said. "We can feel it. And honestly, Mom, it's exhausting. We're asking you to respect our space. Give us some time without the constant presence." I stood up slowly, my hands shaking. "How much time?" "We'll reach out when we're ready. Maybe for Tyler's birthday in a few months." "A few months?" "Michael, I'm your mother. Tyler's my only grandchild, and he'll still be your grandchild in a few months. This isn't permanent. We just need a break." I looked at Jessica, whose face showed no sympathy. I looked at Michael, who couldn't quite meet my eyes, and I realized they'd already made this decision. This wasn't a discussion. It was a dismissal. "I see," I said quietly. "Then I'll go." "Mom, don't be dramatic." "I'm not being dramatic. You've asked me to leave, so I'm leaving." I picked up my purse, the worn leather bag Michael had once called embarrassing, and walked to the door. "We'll call you," Michael said, sounding relieved that I wasn't fighting. "Of course you will." I drove home in my 15-year-old Honda, the car Jessica had once suggested I replace for safety reasons, but really because it looked bad parked in their driveway next to their matching BMOs. When I got to my apartment, the tiny one-bedroom downtown that I'd lived in for 12 years, I sat in the dark for a long time. Then I picked up my phone and made a call. "Catherine, it's Helen. We need to talk about Jessica Morrison's performance review." Catherine Wells had been my CEO at Cornerstone Technologies for 8 years. I'd hired her myself when I founded the company 15 years ago, back when it was just me and 3 programmers working out of a garage. Now, Cornerstone Technologies employed 847 people and generated $400 million in annual revenue. And I owned it all. 100% private ownership. No shareholders, no partners, just me. My son didn't know. Jessica certainly didn't know. Nobody knew except my lawyer, my accountant, and my leadership team. I preferred it that way. I'd built Cornerstone quietly, lived modestly, and kept my wealth private because I'd learned early in life that people treat you differently when they know you have money. They want things, they expect things. They judge you for how you spend or don't spend. So I stayed under the radar, drove the old car, lived in a simple apartment, shopped at discount stores, and nobody questioned it because I was just Helen Morrison, middle-aged widow, retired from some vague office job, living on a modest fixed income. Except I wasn't retired. I was running a tech empire from my laptop, attending board meetings via video call, making million-dollar decisions while my son called me a burden. Helen, good to hear from you. Catherine said, though unsurprised you're calling on a Sunday evening, Jessica Morrison. She works in our marketing department. Junior account manager. Yes, I know Jessica. She's actually Michael's wife, isn't she? Your daughter-in-law, she is. And that relationship needs to stop influencing her employment status. Silence on the other end. What are you saying? I'm saying I want an honest performance review. No special treatment because she's family. No protection because of our relationship, just the facts. Helen, are you sure? Because the facts aren't great. Tell me, Catherine sighed. Jessica's been with us for 2 years. Her performance has been consistently below expectations. She misses deadlines. Her client relationships are poor. And she's been involved in 3 separate HR complaints about workplace behavior. We've kept her on because she's your daughter-in-law. And if she wasn't, she would have been terminated 6 months ago. I close my eyes, then terminate her tomorrow morning. Standard severance package, professional separation, no hard feelings, but she needs to go. Helen, this will cause problems with Michael. Michael just kicked me out of his house and told me to stay away for a few months. I don't think our relationship can get much worse. Another pause. He doesn't know, does he? About Cornerstone? No, and I'd like to keep it that way for now. Understood. I'll handle Jessica's termination first thing tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Thank you, Catherine. Helen, can I ask you something? Why now? You've tolerated a lot from them over the years. Why is this the breaking point? I thought about Michael's face when he told me to leave. About Jessica's contempt, about my grandson looking confused and sad. Because I'm done being treated like I'm worthless by people who have no idea what I'm worth. Monday morning, I was having coffee in my apartment when my phone rang. Michael. Mom, what did you do? Good morning, Michael. How are you? Don't play games. Jessica just got fired from her job out of nowhere. They called her into HR at 9 a.m. and terminated her. Did you have something to do with this? Why would I have anything to do with Jessica's employment? Because it's too much of a coincidence. We kick you out yesterday, and today Jessica loses her job. What did you do? Call her boss, make some complaint. I didn't call Jessica's boss or make any complaints. I have no relationship with Cornerstone Technologies. That was technically true. I didn't have a relationship with Cornerstone. I owned it. Then how do you explain the timing? Perhaps Jessica was simply fired for performance issues. It happens. Performance issues? Jessica is excellent at her job. Everyone loves her. I sipped my coffee. If everyone loved her, they probably wouldn't have fired her. This is your fault. I don't know how, but I know it is. You're punishing us for setting boundaries. Michael, you're being paranoid. I have no power over Jessica's employment. I'm just a retired woman living on a fixed income, remember? What could I possibly have done? He sputtered, clearly frustrated. This isn't over. Jessica's lawyer is already looking into wrongful termination. When they find out you're involved, there's nothing to find, Michael. But please do have her lawyer investigate. I'm sure Cornerstone Technologies' legal team will be very thorough in demonstrating that Jessica's termination was entirely performance-based. I could hear Jessica shouting in the background. Let me talk to her. No, Michael said, but the phone was already being snatched away. You bitter old woman, Jessica hissed. You couldn't stand to see us happy, so you sabotaged me. But you made a mistake. We'll sue. We'll take everything you have. Jessica, I have a 15-year-old Honda and a 1-bedroom apartment. What exactly will you take? Your dignity, your relationship with your son, your grandson? You'll never see Tyler again after this. Something in my chest tightened. Is Michael agreeing to that? Michael does what I tell him, and I'm telling him, you're toxic. You're out of our lives forever. The line went dead. I sat there for a long moment, staring at my phone. Then I made another call. Catherine, it's Helen. I need you to send me Jessica's complete personnel file. Every performance review, every HR complaint, every documented issue. I want it by the end of the day. Already ahead of you. I'll email it within the hour. Helen, are you okay? I'm fine, just preparing for the fight they're about to start. The lawsuit came 3 days later. Jessica Morrison versus Cornerstone Technologies, alleging wrongful termination, discrimination, and retaliation. The complaint specifically mentioned that she was fired immediately following a family dispute with a relative who may have connections to the company. That's quite a conspiracy theory, Mr. Chen. It would explain everything. How Jessica was fired so quickly after your argument with Michael. Why the company had such thorough documentation ready immediately. and why their legal response was so aggressive and comprehensive. 4, I said calmly. Jessica was simply a poor employee who was fired for legitimate performance reasons, and you're wasting time and money on a baseless lawsuit. Michael leaned forward. Mom, just tell us the truth. Do you know someone at Cornerstone? Did you call in a favor? If you just admit it, we can settle this and move on. I don't know anyone at Cornerstone Technologies who would take my call to fire an employee. Is that clear enough? Again, technically true. Nobody at Cornerstone would fire someone just because I called. They'd fire someone because I, as the owner, instructed them to, which was entirely different. The lawyer looked frustrated. Mrs. Morrison, I'll be blunt. This lawsuit is expensive. My retainer alone was $50,000. If we continue, it could cost your son and daughter-in-law hundreds of thousands in legal fees with very little chance of success given the documentation against us. Then perhaps you should drop the lawsuit. We will. On one condition, we want to know the truth. Not for the lawsuit, just for us. Do you own Cornerstone Technologies? The room went completely silent. I looked at Michael, my son, who kicked me out of his house, who chose his wife over his mother, who let me be called a burden and toxic without defending me. I looked at Jessica, who sneered at my car and my apartment, who judged me for living modestly, who threatened to keep me from my grandson. I looked at the lawyer, who just revealed they'd spent $50,000 of money they didn't have trying to prove a conspiracy. Mr. Chen, I said slowly, even if I did own Cornerstone Technologies, I wouldn't tell you because that information is none of your business. My finances are private, my business dealings are private, and my relationship with my son should never have been contingent on my bank balance. That's not an answer, Jessica snapped. It's the only answer you're getting. I stood up. Drop the lawsuit, Jessica. You were fired for cause. Fighting it will only cost you money you don't have and expose more of your performance issues to the public record. Take the severance, find a new job, and move on. And what about us? Michael asked quietly. What about our relationship? What relationship, Michael? You kicked me out. You told me to stay away for months. You let your wife call me toxic and threaten to keep me from my grandson. You chose to believe I was some bitter old woman instead of someone who might have legitimate reasons for her choices. I didn't know what else to think. You could have trusted me. You could have asked me directly instead of hiring a PI. You could have given me the benefit of the doubt. I picked up my purse, but you didn't. And now you have to live with that choice. Mom, wait. Goodbye, Michael. Mr. Chen, Jessica, I trust you'll drop the lawsuit by the end of the week. If you don't, Cornerstone's lawyers will file for sanctions and legal fees. I'm told that could be quite expensive. I walked out. The lawsuit was dropped 4 days later. I heard through my CEO that Jessica had found a new job, an entry-level position at a much smaller company with a significant pay cut. Michael tried calling several times. I didn't answer. Then 3 months later, my grandson's birthday arrived. I received an invitation, a simple card in the mail addressed in Tyler's handwriting. Dear Grandma, please come to my birthday party. I miss you. Love, Tyler. I called Michael. He can write. He said he wrote that himself and asked me to mail it every day for 2 weeks until I finally did. Jessica and I are working through some things. The job loss was hard. The lawsuit was expensive. We're in therapy. Good. Mom, I know I screwed up. I know I chose wrong. I didn't understand. I still don't really, but Tyler misses you. And I miss you. Can you come to the party, please? I thought about it. About my grandson who'd done nothing wrong, and about my son who'd made mistakes, but was trying to acknowledge them. I'll come, but Michael, things can't go back to how they were. I know, and I have something to tell you. Something I should have told you years ago. What? Not over the phone. At the party. We'll talk after Tyler opens his presents. Tyler's birthday party was small, just family and a few school friends. Jessica was polite but cold. Michael was nervous. Tyler was thrilled to see me. After cake, after presents, after the other guests left, Michael, Jessica, and I sat in their living room. You wanted to tell me something, Michael said. I do. I pulled out a folder from my bag. This is the ownership structure of Cornerstone Technologies, the company Jessica worked for, the company that fired her. Michael opened it. His eyes went wide as he read. This says it's owned by Morrison Holdings, which is owned by Mom. This is your name. Yes. You own Cornerstone? I founded it 15 years ago. Built it from nothing. It's worth approximately $400 million last valuation. Jessica had gone completely white. $400 million, Michael whispered. Give or take, the tech sector fluctuates. But you live in that apartment, drive that car, you dress like someone who doesn't need to prove her worth through possessions. Yes, I live modestly because I choose to. Because I built my company on the principle that value isn't about display, it's about substance. All this time, Michael said, you were rich, you were successful, you were everything Jessica accused you of not being, and you never told us. I didn't tell you because I wanted you to value me for who I am, not what I have. I wanted a relationship based on love, not money. And I wanted to see if you'd respect me, even when you thought I had nothing. And we didn't, Michael said softly. We treated you like you were worthless. Yes, you did. Jessica finally found her voice. You fired me, your own daughter-in-law. You destroyed my career because your feelings were hurt. I fired you because you were a poor employee who'd been protected long enough. The fact that you just called me a burden and threatened to keep me from my grants and influenced the timing, I'll admit. But the cause was entirely your performance. You're vindictive. I'm done being disrespected by people who should know better. I looked at Michael. I came today because Tyler asked me to. Because he's an innocent child who loves his grandmother. But moving forward, things will be different. Different how? I won't hide anymore. You know the truth now. You know what I've built, what I'm worth, what I'm capable of, and you'll have to decide if you can have a relationship with me, knowing that your assumptions were completely wrong. Michael was quiet for a long time. Then he said softly, Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for everything. For not trusting you, for choosing Jessica's narrative over giving you the benefit of the doubt, for kicking you out, for all of it. And Jessica, I looked at my daughter-in-law. She looked away. I can't believe you let me humiliate myself. Let me talk about your tiny apartment and your old car when you were worth hundreds of millions. I didn't let you do anything, Jessica. You chose to judge. You chose to mock. You chose to assume that wealth was the only measure of worth. Those were your choices, not mine. So what now? You hold this over our heads forever. No. Now you decide who you want to be. Someone who values people for their character or someone who values them for their bank balance. I stood up. I'll leave you two to think about it. Michael, I'll call you next week. We can have dinner, just us, and talk about moving forward. What about Jessica? Jessica needs to decide if she can respect me. Really respect me. Not because I own a company, but because I'm your mother and Tyler's grandmother. Until she can do that, I don't think we have much to say to each other. I hugged Tyler goodbye and left. 3 weeks later, Jessica requested a meeting. We met at a coffee shop, neutral ground. I've been in therapy, she said without preamble. Processing why I treated you the way I did. And my therapist helped me understand something. What's that? I asked. I was intimidated by you. Even when I thought you were poor, you were so confident, so content, so comfortable in your own skin. And I've never been any of those things. So I tried to tear you down to make you small so I could feel big. That's very honest. Let us know in the comment, where are you watching from? Please subscribe to the channel Her Side of the Story. Thanks for watching until here.